Since the dawn of the 1990s, this hero has managed to go from obscurity to popularity, from joke to serious threat, from dollar bins to valuable. Who is it? Darkhawk. Let's talk about him. Before we do, I want to say thanks for watching JLS Comics. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. I upload videos just like this every single week. Alright, let's jump into our story. Created by artist Mike Manley and writer Tom DeFalco, Darkhawk appeared in 1991 in the pages of his own comic book, the first issue of the aptly named Darkhawk. Fabian Nicieza says that DeFalco was looking for the quote-unquote Spider-Man formula and a way to bridge two immensely popular Marvel characters from the early 90s, Wolverine and Batman. Initially, Keith Pollard was hired for art, and he came up with something akin to DC's Hawkman, much more Egyptian. Then Mike Manley came along and saw Pollard's original designs, liking them to a blend of Spider-Man and Captain Marvel with a little 70s era Namor thrown in for good measure. Darkhawk also had a hawk grapple meant to evoke those earlier costume designs, as well as Wolverine's claws. DeFalco says he used a rejected Bible he'd done for an Archie Comics character named The Fly as a starting point for building out and writing the Darkhawk mythology and who Darkhawk is. This was nearing the height of the comic book industry boom of the early 90s, and Marvel had a big push for new characters and new #1 issues they could push out to market along with their chromium, die-cut, embossed variants and premium covers. And so this is why Darkhawk, a brand new character, jumped right to having his own title. After DeFalco's team conceptualized Darkhawk and he was fleshed out and approved by Mark Gruenwald, DeFalco then passed the job to Danny Fingeroth for writing duties on the new book, along with Manley still doing covers and sequential interior art. The first volume of Darkhawk went on for years, totaling an impressive, well, by today's standards, 50 issues, plus a trio of annuals. Just before his first issue, Darkhawk was featured in a Marvel preview book called Marvel Age. Darkhawk, Danny says there, is the essence of what superheroes are about. Wishing to be strong, getting your wish, and then deciding what to do with that power. To add to that amalgamation list, Danny says Darkhawk is a cross between Spider-Man and the Punisher, with one side that's good and wholesome, and another side that's dark and violent. So what will he do? Danny also says justice has a new edge, and his name is Darkhawk. Ooh, so 90s. So who is Darkhawk? The Darkhawk comic book opens with Chris Powell, a 17-year-old kid from Queens that goes to the same school that Peter Parker went to, Midtown High School. Chris's father, Michael, was a cop, and his mother, Grace, an assistant DA. One night, Chris was out with his brothers at the abandoned Wonderland amusement park, which was just a couple blocks from their home, and he saw his father meeting with some mobsters, accepting a bribe. Shocked, he learned that his father was dirty and on the take, accepting bribes from the mob, namely a mobster named Felipe, who happened to be working with none other than Hobgoblin. Running away from seeing that, Chris found a red amulet which transformed him into Darkhawk. And as Darkhawk, he was able to fly using glider wings, see in the dark, shoot force blasts called the Dark Force Blast, and make shields with that same Dark Force power projected out of his amulet. And he also had claws to cut and slash with, and a grappling hook that he could use, well, for a lot of things. Chris was angry about the revelation with his dad, a guy he used to be proud of, and this gave him an outlet where he could channel his anger. But instead of a villainous turn, he vowed to dish out his own brand of justice in New York City. And when he transformed for the first time, he fought with the mobsters who were with his dad, and this would be the last time he'd see his dad for a long time because he disappeared. But before he called himself Darkhawk, he was Edgeman. Yes, Edgeman, that was a thing. I guess that was what Danny meant when he said justice has a new edge. Strolling through the amusement park a day later, Chris ran into a vagrant who told him power's gotta be used, not abused, by a Darkhawk. So yeah, he got his name from a bum. Later, Chris says, what name did that old wino say? Oh yeah, Darkhawk. And thus ended his first issue. Oh, but it gets better. That homeless guy is named John Train, aka Saint Johnny. Remember that, we'll be coming back to him in a bit. Darkhawk immediately went on a whirlwind tour of the Marvel Universe from the grounded to the cosmic, team up after team up, and not just one, mind you. You'll see what I mean in a moment. First, he went after the mob boss, Felipe, throwing him out a window by catching him with his grappling hook before he hit the ground. That's also when he ran into Hobgoblin for the first time, and they battled. Hobby wanted Darkhawk's amulet for its power. In the battle, Darkhawk was wounded and he transformed back to Chris without Hobby seeing him. Chris went home, and later that night he saw Spider-Man following Hobgoblin back to the amusement park. So he went to the park again, and mysteriously when he changed to Darkhawk, the suit was perfectly fine and repaired. There was no blood or scratches or tears, it was just like new. That mystery would be answered later. Then he ran into a guy named Jimmy Zafar, who used to work with his father in the NYPD. Jimmy was part of a group named the Cabal that thought it was better to kill criminals than send them through the criminal justice system for due process. Jimmy became a vigilante named Savage Steel, and he went after other vigilantes like Punisher and Darkhawk. He'd run into him a few more times, but they'd ultimately end up on the same side. Another guy he ran into a few more times was Charles Little Sky, also known as Portal, and who showed up in Darkhawk armor as well, but with a massive Liefeldian rifle and a Sam Brown belt that would make Cable proud. The mob boss sent a hitman after Chris's mom since her DA office was investigating him, but Chris took the bullet instead. He transformed to Darkhawk and was fine for his battle with Portal. Portal introduced Chris to the idea of the multiverse and other dimensions, but after the fight, he went back to being Chris and ended up in the ER at New York Hospital with a GSW. Darkhawk also fought with a supervillain named Midnight that the Secret Empire had created to combat the proliferation of powered heroes in the city. That's when he met up with Spider-Man, Punisher, Moon Knight, the New Warriors, Nova, and Night Thrasher. And then he teamed up with Captain America and Daredevil. See what I mean with all the team-ups? And we're just 4 issues into his solo series, and he's already met all these people and guested in a few other books. Captain America was to take Portal to the vault when the UFOs attacked, and this is when Chris was trying to get answers about Portal's Darkhawk-like armor. Where did he get it? All that while, a blind attorney happened to be walking by Daredevil. Felipe's next attack was to turn a lady named Andrea Haggard into a villain named Lodestone with a power to magnetically manipulate metal. Felipe wanted her to get the amulet, but they failed. He also fought with Tombstone, and Tombstone was able to actually get the amulet from him. The Persistence Force, weird name, were attacking and wreaking havoc. During this time, he also made an appearance in West Coast Avengers Annual 7, Iron Man Annual 13, along with Spider-Woman, Scarlet Witch, and Iron Man, because Savage Steel was back, and so was AIM. Later in Darkhawk's book, Spider-Man and Portal teamed up to fight the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. So Portal was good now, and he teamed up with Darkhawk. They'd better, it's his book. They ran into Sleepwalker also for a fight. Around this time, just after Thanos snapped half the universe away, he teamed up with Deathlock, Sleepwalker, Moon Knight, him and her, Jack of Hearts, Moondragon, and the Squadron to fight some oozing alien goo that was part of Eon at the Baxter Building. He also ran into Namorita and the New Warriors, whom he'd team up with many times, but never really truly became an official member of the team. Okay, here's where the story gets nuttier. Do you remember St. Johnny, the bum who gave him his name? In issue 22, he took the amulet and became a massive metal techno-organic killing machine with tank tracks instead of legs and attacked Chris, wanting him to have a quote-unquote minded death. St. Johnny, it turns out, was an alien named Mondu, and he was waiting for another alien named Dargan Bach to arrive. Dargan is a space criminal who gathered up a group of interplanetary scientists to create an army of robots, and Mondu was one of these scientists, happened to find his way to Earth and inhabited himself in the body of a human. He found a way to put someone's mind into storage. Another alien named Byron merged with a human named Ned, who was an expert in the field of robotics. Gracia was an alien as well, and she was an expert in telepathy and telepathic technology. And another alien named Osh was a sentient alien space vessel that's the one who discovered a dimension known as Null Space. Manjera was yet another of these 5 aliens, and she found a way to have one living being teleport to substitute in the place of another. And using all of this combined knowledge and technology, they created 5 Darkhawk armors, and they ended up stealing the armors so that the evil Dargan Bach wouldn't be able to use them. Dargan managed to get an amulet and make himself into Evil Hawk. So what was happening was that when Chris willed himself to be Darkhawk, he was teleported to Null Space while the Darkhawk armor took over on Earth in his place, using that technology. When Dargan came to Earth as Evil Hawk, he fought and was destroyed by Darkhawk. But the story gets deeper, and this is big. Many years later, as Marvel attempted to revitalize Darkhawk, his origin was overhauled during an event called War of the Kings, coupled with some information we learned later on. In War of Kings Darkhawk, Chris met a new character, a guy with a similar suit of armor named Talon. And Talon starts to tell him the true story of who he is. And this is it. Eons ago, an ancient elder of the universe named the Gardener planted a tree called the Tree of Shadows in the Dark Force dimension, the place that Darkhawk's Dark Force blast draws his power from. The area around the Dark Force dimension is Null Space, and the Tree of Shadows is where the Raptor amulets grew, like buds or apples on a tree. The tree was in an area controlled by a powerful alien race known as the Shi'ar Empire, and so the Shi'ar, using these amulets, created the Fraternity of Raptors to protect history's knowledge and safeguard the advance of galactic culture. They were curators of history and custodians of the future. The Raptors used a stream of data called the Data Song to gain knowledge of events past and current and future. The problem was it was never meant for humans in the human mind. So when Chris got the amulet and became Darkhawk, he couldn't connect with 100% symbiosis, and his mind couldn't handle the massive flow of the Data Song. So in his mind, he created the idea of Dargan Bach, the Evil Hawk. And so this was all meant for his human mind to process all of this data. However, before this revelation, Darkhawk had many adventures into space, some of which included his mind making him think he was transported to Null Space. In fact, in one issue, while in Null Space, Chris and Darkhawk were separated by Osh on the quest for the rest of the amulets. Then Chris leapt right into his amulet, which was still in the breastplate of his Darkhawk armor, to head back to Earth. Meanwhile, the Darkhawk armor downloaded from the sentient ship, and the armor got a massive upgrade to become the new Darkhawk, and they remained separated, although they worked closely together. In the final issue of the series, space pirates called the Mahari took over the Darkhawk ship and created a massive Darkhawk called Overhawk, and they wanted to destroy the Earth. In working together at the controls of the ship, Darkhawk and Chris managed to merge back together again. And so Darkhawk, Spider-Man, Portal, and the New Warriors defeated the Mahari, and Darkhawk's series drew to a close. But it wasn't the last time we'd see him, not by a long shot. Soon thereafter, Darkhawk joined up with Wolverine, Nomad, and Spider-Woman as the Secret Defenders for one of Doctor Strange's first assignments for the new team. And following along with Spider-Woman, he showed up for a few issues in Avengers West Coast for things like Assault on Armor City, where Professor Power was buying up old armor like the armor that Savage Steel had. In issue 94, Darkhawk became a reserve member of Avengers West Coast. When the Goddess came to Earth for Infinity Crusade, Darkhawk joined up with the Avengers at their HQ to try to figure out what was going on. He was there with the Avengers, Fantastic Four, X-Factor, Alpha Flight, and a host of other heroes. Darkhawk also joined up with a group called the Loners that Rick Jones had put together as a way to find the Runaways. Then during the Runaways' first volume, Darkhawk helped them take down Ultron. During Civil War, Darkhawk took the side of government registration. The government assigned him to be the security chief for Project Pegasus, and while there, the Skrulls attacked during Secret Invasion, and he had to team up with his friend Nova. After the Skrulls were pushed off planet, the Inhumans chased them away and accidentally destroying a Shi'ar ship, which started the War of Kings. And this is when Talon crashed to Earth, and Darkhawk started to learn of his new retconned origin. Aside from his new origin, Talon also told him that he can draw from the amulet and change to a variety of variant armors in a process called reconfiguration, and then be able to change back to his original armor at will. In War of Kings Ascension, as Talon continued to teach Chris, Talon and Darkhawk were fighting Catastrophus and Annihilus' bugs in the negative zone. He also showed him how to make a drone, an evil scout of sorts, with his claw cable. They went in to steal the cosmic control rod, and Chris finally changed to another armor. He learned what the Fraternity of Raptors were really doing. And now fully bonded to his armor, he had visions from the data sung of the Raptors killing and assassinating and warring in the cosmos. And he grew wary of these brutal, bloody tactics. "We're the bad guys," he said incredulously. Then Talon attacked. In the battle, Chris was separated from Darkhawk, and the armor took on the persona of Razor. So then Talon and Razor stole the cosmic control rod and gave it to Blastar so he'd affect the outcome of the War of Kings. And Razor killed a bunch of Shi'ar and the Empress herself, Empress Lilandra, just before Chris regained control of the armor and became Darkhawk again. Then during Realm of the Kings, the Shi'ar declared Darkhawk the galaxy's most wanted, not knowing it was Razor that killed Lilandra and not Chris with Darkhawk. Darkhawk went to hide on a planet called Shard. His friend Nova found him there just as another raptor named Gyre attacked. And Gyre was once a Kree archaeologist who found a green amulet on the planet Shard, and that's how he became a raptor. They were trapped on the planet as it was sucked into a dimensional rift called the Fault, which pulled them into the Cancerverse. After escaping, Darkhawk teamed up with Nova again to destroy the Cancerverse version of Quasar. During the fight, Quasar severely wounded Darkhawk, and Nova had to leave him at the Project Pegasus, where he worked, to heal. While this was happening, Richard Rider's brother Robbie, who worked with Chris at Project Pegasus, had become stranded on an alien planet, and a group of raptors attacked and brainwashed him into joining the Fraternity of Raptors. So Robbie became Talon Rider, or Talon-R. They wanted to find the Infinity Stones, and this brought him into a direct fight with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And Talon-R poised Rocket Raccoon, so Star-Lord put on the Negabands to fight him. The deal was that Star-Lord would give him the Negabands in exchange for the antidote to save Rocket. Star-Lord threw the band into a portal, and when Talon jumped in after it, he ended up surrounded by all his Ultron zombie creatures. In Avengers Arena, Darkhawk was captured by Arcade and sent to Murder World to fight. A cyborg ripped the amulet from his armor, and a lady named Camille found the amulet and became Cammy-Hawk. Then a runaway named Chase Stein got the amulet and became Chase-Hawk. Chris was reunited with the amulet, but it was damaged, and he was back on Earth, now working with the NYPD and unable to change to Darkhawk except in his dreams. His armor was still gone. He was out on a call to where it all began, the amusement park, when some raptors attacked, led by Lord Talon-R and Canaris. Then Chris's old armor showed up, still calling itself Razor. Razor told Chris that his time with him changed his programming, and he'd separated from the Tree of Shadows. So the two merged together once more, and Chris was now Darkhawk, an all-new Darkhawk. Talon-R and his ruthless band of Raptors were seeking to impose their will on the cosmos and to access Null Space to free the rest of the Raptors with Robbie's negabands, and to do so were questing to collect the Infinity Stones, which is when they fought with Drax and the Nova Corps, along with the Warbringer and the Chitauri. One of them used the damaged amulet to bring Razor back out, but Razor retained control. A cosmic bounty hunter named Death's Head attacked Darkhawk, but Chris had him take him up to space in his spaceship to go after the Raptors. Soon after, Geyer and his group of Raptors attacked the spaceship and revealed to Chris that his amulet had the ability to unleash Starhawk, the predator-hunting cosmic force that was designed to go after the Phoenix Force, an unbelievably powerful cosmic force. The Darkhawk was once an old Shi'ar god known as retcon. For this to work, though, Geyer needed an unwilling sacrifice, which became Chris as he thrust his fist through his chest, and a willing one, which turned out to be Robbie Ryder, Talon-R. The power flowed into Robbie, and he became Dark Starhawk. They then set their sights on Earth, but were confronted by Chris, who managed to survive, Nova Prime, and Death's Head. Robbie killed Geyer and invited Nova to join him, but then Death's Head blew the warp core on the vessel, and it killed all the Raptors except for Robbie. This is when Chris was able to reclaim his own amulet. Robbie then hit the negabands together and he disappeared. In Infinity War Sleepwalker 1, Starhawk, a different Starhawk this time, this one is Stakar Ogord, and Darkhawk warped together as Gamora used the Infinity Stones to bend reality to her will and became another Dark Starhawk. Then Nova recruited Darkhawk for the final stand against the Annihilation Scourge in the Omega issue of that story. For Donny Cates' 2019 run on Guardians of the Galaxy, Darkhawk is one of the cosmic beings that Star Fox gathered in the wake of Thanos' beheading. In Cates' Silver Surfer Black issue 1, Darkhawk is shown to be one of the Star Champions sucked into the Black Order's breach, along with Quasar, Cosmo, Adam Warlock, Silver Surfer Black, and the Starjammers. And in the Guardians Annual, now sucked into the black hole, he's twisted and torn and pulled apart, and Chris and Darkhawk were separated once more. On the other side of the black hole, he was found by some Skrulls, at least in his mind. He wasn't able to switch forms, and it looked like he and Darkhawk were merged. They weren't switching places in Null Space like they normally do. So he took off his helmet and revealed that he was a young boy, younger than when he found the amulet. Is that time dilation? He questioned silently with a horrified look on his face. It turns out this was in his mind. He was a prisoner of an evil Adam Warlock named Magus Church of the Universal Truth, but this time they're from the future and led by the Patriarch, who's Star-Lord's dad. He, along with Quasar and a host of other beings and heroes, were in vats of purple fluid as the Church of Universal Truth extracted psychic residue from them and their life essence to power their cathedral ship. But, brainwashed now, Darkhawk was led out with all the other captured beings to stop the boy Magus who wanted to stop the Church. A dying Rocket Raccoon who freed them from their vats and also from their mind control stood shoulder to shoulder to save the universe once more. And that's where he's been in the Marvel Universe, being a protector of the world, a hero with an edge. That's a wrap on this one, my friends. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so you can be one of the first to know when I upload videos just like this each and every week. I'm Jesse, this is JLS Comics, and I'll see you soon.